what if the sudden, inexplicable urge to yell at someone in traffic isn't just a psychological quirk?
Right.
Like, what if it isn't just you having a bad morning, but a literal physical transmission from a dark spot in space, 1.5 million kilometers away?
I mean, it sounds like pure science fiction.
Yeah, totally.
But that is the exact framework we're exploring today. We're looking at a cosmological blueprint that takes, ancient mythological battles, maps them directly onto modern astrophysics, and then uses that very same map to explain the darkest impulses of human psychology.
Welcome to the deep dive. You are definitely going to want to buckle up for this one. Today, we're unpacking a really dense, multi-layered research report titled Brahma's Fifth Head, Opposite Veda, and Its Impact on Human Consciousness.
It's a fascinating read.
It really is. This source pulls from massive ancient texts, specifically the Srimad Bhagavad Purana and the Kalki Purana, but it crosses those ancient narratives with astronomical geometry.
Which is wild, honestly.
So our mission today is to figure out what these ancient sages meant by something called the opposite Veda, how a mythological severed head acts as a cosmic router for human ego, and how it all points to the exact gravitational parking spot where we put our space telescopes today.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, we're essentially looking at a structural mechanical explanation for entropy.
Okay.
The text doesn't treat human behavior as just happening in a vacuum.
Yeah.
It suggests that our minds are constantly interacting with literal regions of space.
Okay, let's unpack this from the ground up, because to understand the psychology, you have to understand the physical architecture of the galaxy, according to these texts.
Exactly. You have to see the map first.
Right. So the source establishes that the Milky Way, our home galaxy, is governed by the deity Brahma, but not as some, human-like figure sitting on a cloud or a throne.
No, not at all.
Brahma is described as fundamentally possessing 5 heads, and these heads represent the literal physical and spiritual architecture of the galaxy.
Think of it as a structural polarity. The galaxy is divided into 2 primary forces, the Veda pole and the opposite Veda pole.
Okay, 2 sides of a coin.
Basically, yeah. So the Veda pole is divided into 4 of those heads, which represent the Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva Vedas. In this cosmology, these 4 heads are comprised of the Dev, or divine element.
Which means what, practically?
They are the cosmic rules. They are the forces of order that sustain gravity, build biological life, and just keep the universe functioning predictably.
So if those 4 heads are like the operating system of the universe, keeping things running smoothly, we have to talk about the 5th head.
They do.
Because this represents the opposite Veda. According to the text, it actively rejects the rules of the gods. It follows its own laws entirely.
Right.
So my question is, why would a system build a rogue AI that actively wants to crash the computer?
I mean, that is the ultimate question of cosmic design, right? What's fascinating here is that the 5th head isn't an outside invader.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's born from the exact same source as the other 4. Because it was part of Brahma, it was made of that same Dev essence, meaning it possessed immense divine power, but it directed that power inward.
Got it.
Ancient sages equated this 5th head directly to aham, which translates to ego.
And we should probably clarify that ego here isn't just about, someone having a really high opinion of themselves.
Oh, far from it. In this context, ego is the fundamental structural rejection of established cosmic law.
Wow.
The Srimad Bhagavad Purana actually states that this 5th head creates a dharma unrighteousness, or more accurately, chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah, the text says it birthed an entire lineage of hypocrisy, illusion, greed, deceit, and ultimately the force known as Kali. It's basically the cosmic urge to dismantle everything.
So the text mentions that at the start of the nature cycle on Earth, the arrogance and rule-breaking of this 5th head reached such an extreme level that Lord Shiva had to step in.
They had to intervene.
Right. Shiva physically severed this 5th head from Brahma to protect the cosmic balance. But here is the detail that really caught my eye in the source. Shiva couldn't completely destroy it.
He couldn't destroy it because of the law of conservation.
Makes sense.
You cannot simply delete a fundamental force of the universe, especially one made of divine essence. You can only relocate it, contain it, or transform it.
Which brings us to what I think is a massive counterintuitive leap in the research. Since Shiva couldn't destroy this incredibly powerful entropic head, he had to put it somewhere, right?
Exactly.
He placed the severed head at a location in the mortal realm called the Rahu door.
Yeah, and to understand the Rahu door, we have to look at another piece of mythology that text references. During an ancient cosmic event, an anti-god and Asura illicitly drank the nectar of immortality.
Uh,
The Lord Vishnu realized this. He cut off the Asura's head. And that immortal severed head was placed at this exact same location, Rahu.
oh,
The body was placed elsewhere, at a point called Ketu. So, historically in these texts, Rahu is the ultimate cosmic holding cell for rogue immortal power. It functions as a filter for chaos.
and the Puranas describe Rahu as a shadow planet, like a path filled with dust and perpetual darkness.
Wow.
For centuries, people just read that as poetic, religious metaphor. But here's where it gets really interesting. The research makes a direct, striking scientific correlation.
It does.
It points to a literal location in space, 1.5 million kilometers directly behind Earth, exactly opposite the sun. In modern astrophysics, this is known as the L2 Lagrange point.
It's a geometric anomaly.
Yeah.
Because of how the gravitational pulls of the Earth and the Sun interact, an object placed at the L2 point stays in a fixed position relative to Earth as it orbits the Sun.
So it just hovers there with us.
Exactly. And because it's directly behind us, this zone perpetually remains in Earth's geometric shadow. It is quite literally a path of darkness in space. It's where we park our most sensitive modern space telescopes, like the James Webb, precisely because it is completely shielded from the light and heat of the sun.
Hold on, I'm having a hard time buying this. Are you saying that thousands of years ago, ancient sages essentially pointed to the exact gravitational parking spot where modern scientists put multi-billion-dollar telescopes and identified that specific pocket of deep space as a prison for cosmic ego?
That is exactly what the source is asserting. The L2 point is the physical, spatial manifestation of the Rahu door.
But HOW, I mean, how does a geometric shadow interact with human reality? I get that there's a lack of sunlight, but how does an empty parking spot in space function as a doorway for chaos?
Well, think about what a shadow actually is. It's an absence.
Okay.
In this framework, the light of the sun represents the Dev element, the illuminating order of the four Vedas. The L2 point is constantly shielded from that order. It's a cosmic blind spot.
Blind spot.
Yeah, and because nature abhors a vacuum, that area of absolute shadow becomes a conduit. The text argues it's the specific aperture through which the disruptive, chaotic frequencies of the opposite Veda can funnel down toward Earth without being burned away by the sun's order.
Okay, so we have this shadowy blind spot hanging 1.5 million kilometers away. Let's ground this. How does a funnel of chaotic frequencies in deep space actually rewrite human behavior? Like, how does it affect you and me?
This is where the astrophysics meets neuroscience.
Oh, really?
Yeah, according to the text, Brahma's essence exists in every single living creature as the jivatma, the soul. You can think of the jivatma as an incredibly sensitive internal antenna.
Okay.
Because we carry that essence, all 5 of Brahma's heads are subtly active within our own neural pathways.
Wait, so our brains are literally tuning forks for the Milky Way?
Precisely. When we process information or when we encounter a frustrating situation, the endless voices in our heads depend entirely on which Veda frequency we are resonating with.
Wow.
Are we tuning into the 4 heads of cosmic order, or are we tuning into the static of the 5th head?
The text argues that sudden hatred, irrational fear, and the urge to cause harm aren't just internal psychological misfires.
Right, they're external.
They are direct, personal interactions with the waves emanating from the 5th head via that Rahu path. So when you feel a sudden, inexplicable spike of greed, the text claims you are quite literally receiving a transmission from the L2 Lagrange point.
Exactly.
But here is my major point of pushback. What does this all mean for personal accountability?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Does this mean humanity is entirely off the hook for bad behavior? Like, can someone just say, sorry, I stole that money, the gravitational waves from the 5th head made me do it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
And the source anticipates that exact argument. It explains that Earth is a yagya bhumi, a sacrificial ground designed entirely around the concept of free will.
Okay.
The waves of chaos are always present, washing over the planet, but you choose whether or not your antenna picks them up.
So the environment is noisy, but you control the dial.
Exactly. The divine rules of the 4 heads aren't forced upon us. The moment we actively choose to reject cosmic order, we voluntarily adjust our internal frequency to match the opposite Veda.
Which means we're still responsible.
Highly responsible. It heightens responsibility because every single action is a choice between tuning into structural order or tuning into cosmic decay.
And it seems like humanity has sensed this specific entropic frequency for a long time. The source points out that globally, ancient cultures visualize this invisible flow of the opposite Veda as a dragon or a flying serpent.
Yeah, that imagery is everywhere.
Right. It cites Revelation 12 from the Christian Bible, arguing that the imagery of a dragon casting stars down to earth is actually a universal symbol of this exact Rahu path, the influence of the fifth head wrapping his chaotic shadow around human consciousness.
It reveals how pervasive this psychological experience is. Across millennia, different cultures gave it different mythological names, but they were all attempting to articulate the exact same phenomenon.
Right, a massive, unseen force pulling human free will toward ego and destruction.
Exactly.
Which naturally leads to a pretty terrifying question. What happens if humanity collectively fails this test? What happens if the majority of the population just leaves their internal dials tuned to the fifth head?
Well, the text claims we don't have to hypothesize about that because we are living in the epoch where it happens.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this period is known as Kali Yuga, and it is precisely the time when the fifth head is prophesied to completely take over the operating system.
So the source outlines a very mechanical sequence of events for this transition. As we move deeper into Kali Yuga, it claims the moon will stabilize, massive water disasters will reshape the earth, and the divine powers that support the universe's natural order will essentially pause.
They go offline,
Right, it says the four Veda heads go into a deep sleep.
leaving only the rogue AI awake. The text states that society will become entirely dominated by the opposite Veda. Cruelty, hatred, and violence will cease to be aberrations. They will become the absolute baseline of human interaction.
And this is where the text predictions get incredibly specific about how society structurally changes. Now, before we get into this next part of the text, we need to pause here and be incredibly clear with you, the listener.
Yes, very important.
We are strictly reporting on what this ancient text claims about biological norms and societal structures. We are not endorsing these viewpoints, nor are we taking any stance whatsoever on modern social or political issues. We are simply unpacking how this specific Vedic framework viewed entropy and chaos taking physical form in the world.
That distinction is vital. We're looking at the structural logic of a thousands of years old cosmology. In this framework, the traditional generative biological family represents the natural dev order, the four heads.
Okay.
Therefore, the text argues that when the fifth head takes over, society won't just fracture ideologically, it will fracture biologically.
The text claims the traditional family structure will completely collapse, replaced by small survivalist tribes. It notes there will be a rise in the dominance of unconventional biological bodies, specifically mentioning kinnars or transgender individuals as taking a central role in this new societal structure.
Right.
Furthermore, the source highlights a hidden prophecy within the Kalki Purana. It says that when Lord Kalki the Avatar prophesied to end the chaos of Kali Yuga arrives, he will face an enormous, entirely separate nation and army comprised exclusively of women.
Yeah, it's a very specific detail.
The text describes them as women of different ideologies or lesbians who have fully separated from mainstream society to form their own empire. And the fascinating detail here is that Kalki doesn't destroy them, he makes a peace agreement with them.
This raises an important question about how ancient texts categorize enemies. Why would Kalki make peace rather than fight?
Why indeed?
Because in the logic of the text, these groups are not evil. They are simply the physical manifestation of the opposite Veda's rule set.
Oh, I see.
When the cosmic operating system is put to sleep, the rogue AI actively rewrites the fundamental code of human biology and social organization. It's the ultimate physical expression of ahem, or ego, overriding the divine blueprint. Kalki makes peace because he recognizes they are a structural symptom of the cosmic cycle, not the root cause.
Man, it is a formidable, almost overwhelming picture. You have a society where the natural laws are inverting, traditional structures are dissolving, and this invisible wave of chaos radiating from a shadow point 1.5 million kilometers away is directly feeding the darkest parts of human psychology.
Sounds bleak.
It sounds like an inescapable cosmic trap
Yeah.
where just receivers getting blasted with static. But, and this is where the research takes a crucial pivot, the text also provides an escape route.
Yes, thankfully the system has a built-in failsafe. Remember earlier when we asked why Shiva didn't just destroy the fifth head when he severed it?
Right.
The text reveals that Shiva intentionally left it intact, placed at the Rahu door, because its true purpose is to serve as a cosmic test for souls.
This is a filter.
Exactly. The universe requires a filtering mechanism for consciousness. Those who succumb to the ego, who let their internal antenna tune into the static and fail the test, fall to lower realms of existence via that Rahu door.
Then the others.
Those who navigate the noise, who actively maintain their frequency and pass the test attain divine realms. The chaos isn't just a punishment. It is a crucible designed to forge wisdom.
So how do you actually pass the test? If the waves are constantly hitting us, how do we build an acoustic shield?
Good question.
The source says the only way to calm the influence of the fifth head is by awakening something called vivekt, which translates to wisdom or discernment, and activating the guru element within yourself. This is done through a process called Pran-Purush.
Let's strip away the esoteric terminology for a moment. Prem Purush is essentially about consciously regulating your vital life force to pierce through the ambient noise of the L2 frequencies.
Okay, regulating your energy.
Yeah, the text explains that awakening this internal guru element connects humans directly to divine powers via the planetary frequency of Jupiter. It acts as an anchor.
An anchor in the storm.
Precisely. The source cites the great Saint Enoch from the previous Kali Yuga as a historical example of someone who successfully engineered this connection. You aren't fighting the fifth head head-on. You're simply tuning it out by hardwiring your consciousness to a higher, stable divine source.
And the research doesn't just leave it at abstract philosophy. It mentions specific practical technologies for this. It talks about chanting divine names and utilizing sacred geometry, specifically meditating on complex visual forms like the Sri Yantra.
Right.
In the context of this deep dive, these aren't just empty religious rituals. They are highly precise acoustic and visual tools. They are designed to stabilize the mind's frequency, acting as a geometric countermeasure against the gravitational pull of Rahu.
It beautifully brings the staggering multi-million kilometer scale of the Milky Way right back down to individual human action.
It really does.
The sheer volume of chaos funneling through that cosmic shadow is vast, but the tools to overcome it are completely internal. They're immediately accessible to anyone willing to exercise their free will toward discernment rather than ego.
It completely changes the architecture of a bad day, doesn't it? Think about that persistent, nagging inner voice of self-doubt or irrational anger or immense ego that you experience when things go wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
What if it isn't just you being difficult? What if it is literally the gravitational pull of a 1.5 million kilometer long shadow challenging you, testing you to see if you will wake up your own inner wisdom?
That's a wild thought.
The next time that voice speaks up in your mind, demanding that you react with anger or chaos, how will you choose to respond to the cosmic test?